Good morning, everyone. Join me with your cup of coffee today. Sometimes I mix it up with tea, but today it's coffee. Definitely need the boost of caffeine. It's still, I shake my head all day long. I think God has he's got a counter. He puts a penny in the jar every time he shakes his head. He's a billionaire. I know owns everything anyway, but I thought about doing that myself. Every time I shake my head, put a coin in a jar. I'd have to make the denomination low so I can afford it. So I thought about a penny. They're not making them anymore, so they're going to eventually run out of. Everybody's going to put them in jars. They've been doing it for years. You have a big water jug, for the water cooler you put up on top when that's empty. It's not used for anything else. So you put coins in it. When it fills it up, you take it down to the market or whatever, wherever the coin counters are. And it used to be you could take it down there and maybe buy a car. Maybe you might pay for your groceries for the day. That's about all you can do now. I got an eyelash turned inside. Okay, I think I got it. Yeah, I have to deal with all kinds of things during the day. Some people are dealing with problems, really big problems, whether they're medical, financial, relational, whatever. But this is still a good time compared to what's coming. I know people don't like the days. They're worse than they were 20 years ago. Way worse than they were. I mean, I go and look at my little bit of Facebook that I do. I look on there and I look at memes and pictures and comments. And every once in a while, somebody put up a picture of some young girl or guy getting gas and paying 34 cents, something like that, a gallon. I remember going up and putting $5 worth of gas in my car and driving around all week with it. Can't do that anymore. I might get away with, I don't drive much now with my son here, but I do go to the market once in a while. And it's too cold right now. We're out of the yard sale season. I need a bunch of stuff to fill up the house. Essential stuff. I would consider it essential to have a dresser. Everything's still in bin boxes because that's how it got packed away. I open it up and scrounge down, find something, shove it back in and put the lid on it, and then it's all messed up next time. So having a place to organize is what I need. All right. The world coming up is going to be so bad, but it's not for us. God's going to focus his attention on his people, on Israel. And we know Satan doesn't like them. And God's going to pull us out of here with the rapture. We're not going to be down here to give him any fun and leisure shooting, killing Christians. We won't be here. So he's going to have to turn his full attention on the Jews. And they don't believe Jesus has been here yet. So the instruction is going to start happening. And I'm surprised that it hasn't started already, as close as we are. But technically, until we're out of here, we're not through with the church age. For those that want to tie the rapture to a Jewish event, it may trigger it, but it is not going to happen on one if that Jewish event has to have some meaning in the 70th week. So it might happen the week before. We got the Day of Atonement, holidays coming up, different things that we've got all year. Everybody kept predicting the rapture on it. It's not going to happen on those days. The minute it happens, it may end the church age and start back up on the 70th week. It may be very close, but it's not the same. God does things one at a time, decently and in order, not haphazardly. And he's already got this planned out, so he knows when everything's going to happen. But we know there's going to be peace in the Middle East. What I don't know is the timing. That's the hard part. We don't know. We know once things start, it can happen very fast, and multiple things can happen in a short period of time and overlap. That we're pretty convinced of, but we don't know exactly what causes what's the response to what. It's going to only be for those that are here. And the Jews are not going to read the New Testament. They're not going to read the book of Revelation. The good news for them is that it's just a restatement of everything that's in the Old Testament, whether it's Daniel or Isaiah. All that stuff is covered in the Old Testament if they only knew it. They didn't know it well enough when Jesus was here to recognize him. So anyhow, let's go ahead and turn to Revelation 11:1. I'll let John summarize everything that he's got out of the Old Testament so we don't have to. And to read like a rod was given to me. John's spiritually in heaven, however he's there. And the angel stood saying, "Rise up and measure the temple of God and the altar and those who worship in it." Revelation 11:2. "But leave out the court which is outside the temple and do not measure it, for it was given to the nations, and and they will trample the holy city for 42 months. How many years is that? 12 into 42. 3.5 years, isn't that? And we've got the 70th week, the tribulation time frame, split from a 7-year time frame into 2 3.5-year segments. The first half, the Antichrist reigns. They also get their temple. They go to doing their sacrifices. They probably have, if not the real thing, a copy of the Ark. The Antichrist will know what it looks like. The Antichrist will know where it is if it's still intact. They may come back with it and sneak it in someplace and not tell anybody. We don't know what they're going to do. The minute they've got that, though, the whole world needs to worry about them. But it won't take long for the Antichrist to deal with the harlot, especially when you take the church out. You take the Christians off the earth, the harlot will probably go crazy, and the rest of the world will respond with the help of the Antichrist and shut him down. Even though the world is not accepting Christ, they're not. The people we're seeing on TV are the crazy ones. The majority of the non-Christians are just earthbound dwellers who want to live a decent life without God, but they want to live an earthly life. They don't want to be tied into all this garbage going on the left. And the garbage is it is garbage. Satan knows it's garbage. I think everybody in the world knows it's garbage except for those caught up in it. And it's there to divide. That's all it's there for. So don't let it divide you. Love the sinner, hate the sin. That's all you can do. So what's going to happen with these two witnesses? Verse 3, "And I will give power to my two witnesses, and they will prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth." I'm not seeing anybody out there in sackcloth now. Today, that could be blue jeans with holes in them. I don't know. But they're not going to be out there in shirts and ties, suits and ties, and all that kind of stuff. They're going to look rather plain. Maybe they look homeless. I don't know. But they will be out there, and they're going to tell the world what God is expecting. Continuing on in verse 4, these are the two olive trees and the two lampstands standing before God of the earth. And if anyone will hurt them, fire proceeds out of their mouth and devours their enemies. It doesn't say it pushes them back. See, this is what we're having today, and that's one of the reasons that I get aggravated if I watch too much news. I've got to let you know what's going on, so I watch enough of it, but it's aggravating seeing what's going on because the bad guys are not being punished. They're being pushed back, but not punished. Here, these two witnesses are going to devour their enemies. There's nothing left of them when they get through with them. And if anyone will hurt them, so it is right for him to be killed. God says it's okay to kill his witnesses. In the past, he's brought witnesses to the earth. He called them prophets, and they were killed and locked up and everything else going on with them to try to shut them up. It's not going to happen now. God's had it with the world. He's setting the rules now, and they will be killed if they try to kill them. And they have the authority, verse 6, to shut up the heaven, that it may not rain in the days of their prophecy. And they have authority over the waters to turn them to blood and to strike the earth with every plague as often as they desire. Well, this is going to happen for 3.5 years. It hasn't started yet, not that I'm aware of, because the two witnesses are tied to the Antichrist. Remember, he's going to be here for 3.5 years too. He's going to reveal himself at the halfway mark, at which point he may not lose his Satan power, but he loses his earthly influence at that point, because the Jews will recognize him for who he is, because he defiles the temple. A holy man would never defile the temple, because that's God's home in the back on earth. So we're going to get all the stuff. That's just one of the reasons that we think it could be either Elijah or Moses, because they could control the environment. Moses could do plagues. We know about the plagues to get him out of Egypt, turning the water to blood. Elijah's got his ability to bring down water from heaven. Remember, you douse the fire at the challenge with Baal. He doused the wood first before he set it on fire, before God did. Verse 7, and when they complete their testimony, the beast coming up out of the abyss will make war against them. So when they've finished, Satan's not going to stop them. Satan has the power on earth to stop them. He's not more powerful than God, but he's the king of the earth. He could stop them. He's not, because God says don't. And Satan knows to follow the commandments of God. Even he knows to do what God tells him to do. The abyss will make war against them and will overcome them and kill them. I've recently covered this, but I think that we need to keep this stuff in our minds, because it is not going to be pleasant once this starts. We can't be here during this because the Antichrist is here and we can't be here with him here. So our rapture is imminent. When? I don't know. We're not 100% sure on any of the timeline. Everybody's calculating, they say, well, it's got to be this year. And if it's not this year, it has to be next year. Next year is the last year it can possibly be. And they keep going on about this. What if they're wrong on their calculations? They've been wrong on their calculations many times. They didn't know something. They didn't discover something until recently that unveiled how it was laid out different from what their original thought was. That's one of the reasons that we modify the Bible. We don't rewrite it, but as we understand the wording and we found out that, well, this word really meant this, not this, we're changing it. It's not rewriting, but we make modifications. It doesn't change the overall content. But if we're trying to study history, we want the history to be right. If we're trying to discover God, we want that to be right. So getting the words right is important, word for word. A lot of the Bibles don't care. They just put it down in plain English, don't try to follow exactly. And they help people to get to God, but sometimes if you start studying on one of those Bibles, you can come up with the wrong conclusions. Look at how many denominations of Christianity we have, because people have misunderstood some of it or pull it out of context. Verse 18, and their bodies will lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom in Egypt, spiritually. Some place to get out of, I guess, where also our Lord was crucified. So right there, it tells us it had to be Jerusalem. Many of the peoples and tribes and tongues and nations will see their dead bodies 3 days and a half, and they will not allow their dead bodies to be put in tombs. So they won't be able to pick them up. They're there on display. Whenever it says peoples, tribes, tongues, and nations, it's the whole world. That's only been possible recently with televised news stories and cameras. You can find cameras all around the world that are just set on, and you can turn it on. You can look at the Grand Canyon live. You can look at, Red Square in Russia live. You can look at, lakes and rivers and all kinds of stuff live. There's a nest for an eagle's nest you can look at live. You can look at, all kinds of things. People put cameras up. They don't cost a whole lot. And just leave them on. And you can tune into it. And if they start getting a lot of interest, they may have to beef up their hardware. It's hard to get to, but of course, we're looking at this around the world. So if you want, it's still morning and dark here. You're not going to see as much as if you wait 2 or 3 hours. So you got to remember where it is you're looking in the world. It may still be dark there, but people will be able to see this. They will lie there 3.5 days. Now, that's not as long as Lazarus was in the tomb and dying there, and they were worried about the smell. This won't, I don't, and this, right now it's getting to be winter in the Northern Hemisphere. So if it were to happen now, it wouldn't be too bad. Hottest summer might be a problem, but this is not going to be a problem. They will not allow their dead bodies to be put in tombs. Well, that's what they did with dead bodies back then, but nowadays they might bury them or cremate them. I don't know what they're going to do. Depends on where they're from. They're supposed to be Jews, so they follow traditional Jewish burial routines once they can get to them. And the ones who dwell on the earth will rejoice over them and will make merry. It'd be good if it came up on a world holiday like Christmas, but they got to be able to do this for 3.5 years. So it's not going to be this Christmas. It might be 3.5 years from now. We don't know when it starts. And they will send each other gifts because these two prophets tormented those living on the earth. Again, we're pulling the Christians out. There won't be any Christians around to say, don't worry about it. We're praying for you. Or I knew this was going to happen. Just have faith, relax. There's going to be nobody around. There will be baby Christians born during this 7-year period. But if they were born on day 1 of the tribulation, they're only 7 years as a Christian in a world that hates Christians for sure at this time. So they may not be very much out in the open. They may know how to survive, but they may not be able to get out and preach. So the world's on its own. And they're going to be upset, to say the least. After 3 days and a half. Gotta ask God why 3.5 is and 7 are always big. A spirit of life will come from God and enter into them, and they stood up on their feet. People who were dead. We don't know how they were killed, whether they're shot. They can't be mangled because their bodies would be unrecognizable. They've got to be shot or poisoned or something. They will get up, and great fear will fall on those that see them, as they know. And they heard a great voice from heaven saying to them, "Come up here." And they went up to heaven in a cloud, and their enemies watched them. And in that hour, within an hour, a great earthquake occurred, and the 10th part of the city fell. Talking about Jerusalem, a 10th. 7,000 names of men were slain in the earthquake. 7,000 people dying in that. We get earthquakes around here and there, and some of the third world countries have big ones, and they may get 1,000 people die. There's going to be 7,000 here. Were slain in the earthquake. And the rest were frightened and gave glory to God. Finally, somebody's paying attention. And this is the 7th woe. There are 3 woes. The last one's really going to be bad. Behold, the 3rd woe comes quickly. We get the 7th trumpet. The 7th angel sounded, and there was a great voice in heaven saying, "Kingdoms of the world have become kingdoms. The kingdoms of the world have become the kingdoms of our Lord and of his Christ, and he will reign forever and ever." And the 24 elders sitting before God in their thrones fell on their faces and worshiped God, saying, "We thank you, O Lord Almighty, who are, who was, and is coming, because you took the great power and reigned." And the nations were full of wrath. Even after all the things that God has done, the nations were full of wrath. And your wrath came, and the time of judging of the dead, and to give the reward to your servants, the prophets, and to the saints, and to the ones fearing your name, to the small and to the great, and to destroy those destroying the earth. The temple of God was opened in heaven. Everything that's down here is a copy of what's in heaven, an earthly copy, but a copy, functioning the same way, but not as glorious as John talks about later on. We're not too far from this. We are, I'm guessing, because I don't know, I'm guessing that we're within, to be conservative, 5 years, to be realistic, any time. I don't see how we can last 5 years, but whatever the time frame, it can't be very long. Will we get through the last Trump? The Donald, the orange hair guy? I don't know. He's trying to set things right, but we're going to have to be out of here for him to turn over to Satan what's going to happen on this world, because they're not removing, they're not devouring the enemy. They are simply pushing him aside. And that can't be good for anybody. All right. We have a good future. The world doesn't. Warn the world. Some of my favorite sci-fi movies are about the world ending. Worlds Collide or War of the Worlds, different ones. We know that there's sci-fi and that God is in complete control in real life. It's interesting to see how people behave. a lot of that depiction is accurate, running around screaming for fear the world's going to end. There's nothing you can do. Trust God is all you really can do. Have faith in Him and then not worry about it. All right, everybody. We're in the holiday season, so spread cheer. But I've got to cover this stuff. I've got to cover the good and the bad. If it's in the Bible, I have to cover it. Until we meet in the clouds. God bless.